does. One of the coolest things about Repo is it's you guys. You guys who watch it, you guys who learned all the words, you guys who come and they go to the Shadowcast and they sing along. You guys have made this movie into a phenomenon, and that's an amazing thing. So really, give yourself a hand. Now let's talk about that.
10 out of 9, I'm going to fill the pot. The most dancing, panties snatching. I don't need your diapers blank.
So let's talk about that. The movie, I mean, this is for all three. It gains a life of its own, and now there are Shadowcasts, and you guys have all been to them. I mean, what do you think about seeing this movie take on such a life of its own? I mean, it's really an organic thing it just keeps evolving. So, I mean, what does that do for you, like people who were in it and made the original? It's sort of like saying, hey, you know, this movie is becoming this generation's rock and horror, and it's really close to gaining that kind of popularity, which is amazing.
You know, for me, what's amazing is how many times I've seen Luigi played by a girl. And, it's amazing. I mean, they're, you know, and girls rule. I got 2 of them, you know, children. And I got 2 of them stashed back at the hotel. They're not breathing much, but anyway. So it's exciting to see Luigi played by women. And you know, it is actually, to me, it's really a testament to Darren, Bousman, and Terrence doing this amazing road show. I mean, the Repo road show, it was like the 2 of them just would not let this movie fail, and because they believe so strongly in it. And you know, I joined them for a couple of stops of you know several of many stops they made. To me, it is just really for all of you young filmmakers out there and aspiring filmmakers, you know, the belief they had in this. I mean, they literally willed this movie to the success it now enjoys. And you know, I have been in a bunch of movies, and I have never come close to seeing that kind of dedication. So I would like to give Terrence and Darren. Not down what would be in the 99-cent bin, I think, by now in Walmart, if we even got into Walmart.
Okay. Funny, my first time to Walmart was to buy the Repo.
Did we do that in Denver?
We did.
Yeah.
That we did, Mr. Mosley. That we did. Well, you know, it's funny. Thank you for saying that. You know, it's funny because, you know, I obviously don't have the success that Darren Bousman did or didn't at the time, but I remember being with him, and the fact that we were being so passionate about a project that we created really was kind of met with this bizarre, like, standoffishness from other filmmakers and other artists, and it just kind of, it seems so counter to me, like, and I'm sure you can relate to this as a musician who's really pushed your own, who's pushed your own career. Like, to me, it's kind of like, I don't know how to halfway do it. Yeah. So it didn't seem like we were doing anything extraordinary. It just seemed like this is what you do when you sacrifice to make art, and you don't really even contemplate it. But we were met with like just raised eyebrows continuously, and I know Darren especially, people were just like, "Why are you doing this?" And he was just kind of like, "Why aren't you? Do you not even care about what you're making, what you're putting your name on?" So, you know, I thank you for the compliment, but it's kind of like, it's kind of sad that you don't see more of that. I think people are so, especially in the film industry, they feel so detached from the actual work they're creating. And well, I hope whatever I do next isn't as much of a struggle as Repo. I can't imagine not doing it 110%. So.
Well, I mean, for like me, coming from a band where, you know, we have kind of a cult following, and we've been able to, for whatever reason, sometimes I wonder how it does last. And the one thing that, to me, is a sign of a success is when something does have a cult following. And again, you're not looking at something that hits a demographic at a certain time, peaks, and then goes away. You're looking at something that has a build on it and a slow build on it. And Repo, even more than Skinny Puppy, it's amazing to me just with the people, again, as Bill said, I'm always shocked by the number of Pavis and how androgynous the character is, which is kind of what I want to do. But when you see the girls doing Pavi and things like that, it's really exciting. And the amount of time that these people have taken, all of you have taken to support the film. And I've watched the message boards when it was all ramping up, and it was just amazing to me that actually some people took something that was basically killed in this kind of Roman Senate assassination within the industry, because it really was. I mean, if
those grapes were poisoned.
Don't eat the green grapes. Bad acid.
And to Luigi.
But when I was younger, I always kind of, you know, would look at movies and you know, you'd see bad movies and you see good movies, and you wonder, well, why do people even bother making bad movies? And I think after seeing what these guys went through with Repo, it's amazing to me that movies get made at all, and especially when there's a committee involved. I'm lucky in the sense that I'm lucky to a degree. You still have to deal with business, but you're in total control of all the elements of what you produce artistically and your output. And when you're done with that, you release it, and it goes to you guys, and then it's yours. And in the film business, there's a step between all of that, and it's called, to me, it's the committee, the death chamber, whatever it is. It's just something that it goes to where people start making decisions and altering it, and it gets taken away from the artists. And the fact that you guys picked it up after that and gave it such life, it makes me proud to be part of the project, because that's our connection, is with the people that we're trying to show the film to and enjoy it, or the music to. And when you have that connection, there's a real sense of accomplishment. So again, thank you very much for supporting the film.
May I just to add 2 cents. Also, we were very lucky because we had at the time at Lionsgate 2 real champions. One was Peter Block, who was at the time the head of development of movies for Lionsgate, and his assistant or partner, Jason Constantine. And the two of them, they loved Repo, they believed in it, they were on the set with us up in Toronto. And what was interesting was, between the time that we finished production on Repo and the time that Repo was about to be released, Peter Block left Lionsgate and was replaced by another guy, Joe, whatever his name was.
Don't say his name.
Why? Because I'll never work again? But anyway, I'm just saying that what happened was that there was an executive shuffle. And that a lot of times when there's, an old executive is being replaced by a new one, maybe the old executive has a slate of films that he or she particularly loves or has nurtured, and the new person comes in and is not as interested. So that also was something that was part of the Repo story.
Yeah, I mean, basically the new Lionsgate guy, who will remain nameless, was like, how many people here have watched countless horror movies from not Lionsgate? I'm guessing a good portion of it, right? So this new, I never said they were good, dude. I said you watched them because they had badass cover art, right? Oh shit, look at that! And basically what this guy did was he came in and said, we don't need to make horror movies anymore. We had was it Crash? Yeah. We had a big success with Crash, where more legitimate now, and fuck you for saying horror is not legitimate to begin with. That's where most people get their start in this whole industry, is making horror movies. It's because of you guys and the actors who love it that they become big, they become famous, and they become legendary movies. I mean, if you look at the longevity of some movies, I mean, do you really think anyone's going to be watching like Breaker Morant or fucking Dr. Zhivago or whatever and talking about it incessantly and going to conventions like 20 years from now for them? How many people is thinking in about 10 years you'll be at the next Repo convention and saying, hey, there's Bill Moseley, right? Hey, there's Ogre. And that's the kind of dedication that horror fans exhibit, and God bless you guys for it. That's awesome. And since we're all giving you verbal hand jobs over there, how about we open it up to some questions? Who has questions out there? All right, well, fuck it. Right there.
Can we help you? We're doing something in here.
Her question was about the.
All right, thank you very much. Good night.
Her question was about the musicians that worked on Repo's soundtrack, and there's a lineup of just amazing musicians that a lot of people don't know worked on Repo, like people from Jane's Addiction, people from Bauhaus, Rasputina, the works, and I think they were amazing to work with, and they got involved much in the same way that everyone did with Repo, which was you'd read the send-out, right, or you'd listen to a track, and you'd know immediately whether you loved it or hated it. There wasn't a whole lot of moderates. So, you know, and I think that was one of the misses that we had with marketing too. We had so many great bands and members from bands that played on the soundtrack that would have totally incorporated Repo in some way into their tours. But because the people in charge of Repo just didn't believe in it, those type of opportunities were missed. But that said, like everyone that I know that worked on it, musician-wise, that are some of that come from some of my favorite bands, ones that influenced me, including Skinny Puppy, by the way. They all walked away saying, "This is the coolest thing," you know. And so yeah, it was a joy, and I think that is one of the things that makes Repo as cool as it is definitely the soundtrack, and that's due to a lot of amazing, talented musicians and singers performing.
And can you address the fact that very few of the CDs were pressed, right, for the soundtrack?
Yeah, I think they only made like 2,000 or something ridiculous. So they're sold out. I mean, you can download it on iTunes, but in terms of an actual hard copy, you know, but let's keep the faith. I mean, Repo's still in its infancy in some ways. It's not a normal film, and so that normal kind of rollout just doesn't make sense. We're not an opening weekend film. We're a come out at midnight, half naked and go crazy type of film. And as such, I hope that somewhere in the future we will see a comprehensive Repo CD. You know, maybe even one with lyrics. Dare to dream.
Next question. Right there.
Is there any chance of a prequel or a sequel?
Is there any chance of a prequel or a sequel?
Well, there's always a chance. I think that's in the same category as are we going to see an official soundtrack or the official Filmway soundtrack. The reality is this, there are no plans at the moment, but myself and the Darrens have ideas, and I think it's just if that opportunity presents itself. We'd love to, but movies cost a lot of money, and right now nobody's writing a check to make another Repo. But you never know. I love the world, and I think even more so than the characters or the particular story. It's like, I would just love to see another kind of goth rock opera out there. And if that happens to be Repo 2, then...
Next question. Right back there.
This was over, actually. I was actually surprised, not a bad surprise, but I was surprised when I heard your vocal direction and how different it was from your Skinny Puppy and your solo stuff. What was the process like, and how did that develop?
It was just basically in the studio with people going up, higher, higher, higher. Okay, that's good, you cracked. It was always kind of in the idea that Pavi was a bit of a, you know, dolt, obviously, and you know, adopted this kind of fake Italian accent in order to probably prop up his own kind of inner sense of dread, and so I think ultimately the falsetto came about just in the sense of nerves and making him sound a little more of you know, buffoon ultimately at the end. So I had a lot of fun doing that because obviously, you know, you're aware of how I sound, and I found out in the late 90s, I think, when I started doing some vocal training with this guy named the Maestro, who was a 90-year-old, sang on Radio City music halls at baritone. Singing teacher, voice teacher, and he'd sit there in the piano like this, huge, with 2 hearing aids. And I found out there that I was a tenor, actually. I always thought I was a bass, and so that started me up on my upward climb of the voice a little bit, and then over kind of gave me a bit more, and so Repo was the next generation to kind of finally give rise to the ugly falsetto.